What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. And today, I just got off the phone yesterday with my general contractor and property manager for my 20 unit apartment complex in Oklahoma and kind of wanted to share kind of what that interaction was like. So, the first call that I made, and typically I will kind of make this on my commute uh, back or from work. So, I commute an hour each way and I try to maximize my time. So a lot of times I am talking to my, property manager, general contractor to get a quick touch base. And it was quite interesting. So for some background, my 20 unit apartment complex, I bought that in May of 2022 and I got a 12-month hard money loan on the property. So it's due here actually in about 3 to 4 months approaching. I do have an option for a 3 month extension, but as you can imagine, I'm up against the clock here with my hard money loan. And for some context, I got it for $350,000. I down 25%, and the lender is giving me $100,000 worth of renovation. And my initial goal was to renovate the 5 vacant units. So when I took over the property, only 5 out of 20 of the units were vacant, and 15 out of the 20 were occupied. But once I took over the property, a lot of crazy things happened. Unfortunately, there was a huge bed bug infestation that happened due to a tenant letting homeless people stay in their unit. And the prior owner didn't do anything about it. I did, during my due diligence, I did do a pest control report, and either they missed it or it happened after the inspection was done. But I basically had to fumigate all 20 units. And when you fumigate units for bed bugs, you have to take everything out of all the cupboards, empty all the closets, all the dressers, put it in the middle and cover it so that the pest control can come in and fumigate it, right? But just by doing that already, you're already moving all your stuff into the middle of the house. A lot of people are just like, well, I'm just going to move out of the house altogether and live somewhere new, right? And I don't blame them. I would do the same. If I had to empty all my cupboards, all my closets, all my drawers, everything to fumigate it, at that point, you just can move out and move somewhere else, right? So I started with 15 out of 20, and just through the bed bugs alone, I think I lost um, about 4 people. Actually, 5 people. I lost 5 people who gave their 30-day notice to move out. Once I gave them the notice that I was going to fumigate all the units, so I went from 15 occupied to 10 occupied, and then from the 10, there was 3 that I had to evict because they weren't paying. Right. So this is actually very common when you take over a property. Right. The moment a new owner takes over a property, people are going to take advantage of the situation. They know their month-to-month lease. They know their rent is cheaper. They know a new landlord's coming, so they're gonna say, "Oh, I'm gonna stop paying for a month. I'm gonna give them the eviction notice, and they're gonna leave before that 15-day eviction notice is up because they just saved them a month of rent and they have nothing against their record." So when I took over the property in a span of like, I think 6 weeks, I went from 15 all the way down to 7. Right. So now I went from renovating 5 units to now I have to renovate, 13 units. Some not as much as others. Right. The 5 that were vacant to begin with, those need more extensive repair. Right. New flooring, new paint, new kitchen cabinets, everything. The 13, the other ones that became occupied, maybe not as much damage, but you never know, right? Some people, you'll be surprised what some tenants will live in and deal with. So out the gate, I went down to 7 out of 20 units occupied. And my mistake that I made was I didn't communicate clearly to my property manager that I wasn't going to renovate all the units extensively. I had a general contractor that was working on those 5 units. And once those other units became vacant, they left them vacant because they thought that I was going to use that general contractor to renovate all of those units completely. Right? But that was not my intent. In the beginning, I told him I only want to rent those 5 units and I only have a budget for those 5 units. But because I didn't constantly remind my property manager of my plan and of my strategy, they assumed that I was going to renovate all the new vacant units with that general contractor. And because I was distracted with my mobile home park and my other 26 unit, I dropped the ball, right? I didn't constantly follow up and I didn't remind them constantly of the plan. Had I done that, the general contractor could have been renovating those 5 units, and then the in-house maintenance people could have been doing basic rent readies, touch up repairs here and there to get those other, you know, other units. I don't even know how many it is. I think those other 8 units ready. So by the time that my general contractor finished renovating those 5 units, I literally had 13 units that I needed to rent out immediately, and only 5 were ready to go out the gate. Right? Fortunately, I was able to rent out 4 out of 5 of those newly renovated units pretty fast. But I still had you know, what is it, 8 other units that need to be turned and need to be rented out. And my hard money loan is due in May. It's like 3 months from now, right? So now I'm up against the wall. Um, so what I had to do was I said, all right, well, I'm gonna have the in-house people renovate the units that they can, as well as my general contractor. I'm gonna pay him to renovate additional units as well because I want more people in there and I want it to be done faster so we can rent it out faster, so I can do my cash out refinance faster out of the deal. So for me, it was completely my fault, right? And another rift that this created was my general contractor got frustrated with me because he thought that I was going to give him all the work. If he thought that if he did the 5 units very well, which he did very well in those 5 units, that he would get the business of the remaining units that became vacant. So he was very unhappy when I talked to him and I said, okay, I want you to do this other unit for me and I'll pay you. And he was very unhappy saying, oh, well, I saw these other people in these other units renovating it and I know they don't do as good of a job as me. And I just said, well, unfortunately, the renovated units were only getting me like $50 more in rent. And I was paying like $5,000 to $6,000 per unit to get $50 more in rent. Versus if I paid $100 or $1,000 to $2,000 for basic rent readies, I get $50 less. And because my hard money loan is coming up against me and up against the wall, I just said I want speed. So it's faster to turn the units versus to do you. But now I'm doing both of you. But you're still very unhappy with me. I just had to explain that, hey, I'm up against the wall. This is my business plan. And the nicely renovated units were not getting as much rent as I anticipated. And then he kind of shot back at me saying, well, because this apartment has a bad reputation and there's like homeless people hanging around there and the current tenants are not great. That's why you're not renting at a higher rent. So, he was being very emotional and insecure. And he was saying that like, oh, I have a lot of work, and honestly, when I caught him, he started the next day, so he clearly didn't have work. So he just was frustrated, angry, and was insecure, and that's what you have to deal with when you're managing people. Unfortunately, right? Like I get it. You're not mad at me. You're just mad at your situation, and his work is great, but it's expensive, and he knows that the other guys that we use they're cheaper, but they're not as good. You get what you pay for, right? If you pay more money, you get higher quality work. If you pay less money, it's less quality work. You can never have both. So if there was both, they would be busy, right? They wouldn't be available. So that was another interesting kind of conversation that I had with my general contractor. I was like, okay, I literally paid you for 5 renovations. I'm paying you for 6, and you're still coming at me very ungrateful, right? At the end of the day, I'm managing my asset. I'm giving people work, and they're still going to give you attitude, right? That's just the nature of the business. And like I said, don't take it personally. It's hard not to, but it's they're projecting their insecurities onto you, right? So once I understood that, I was like, okay, well, he's just frustrated that like maybe he doesn't feel like his work's appreciated, and it is. Those units rented out fast, but they weren't renting out at the rates I wanted. And with my back against the wall, with my hard money loan, what can I do, right? At this point, I'm using both of you guys because I need both of you guys to finish these units so I can rent them out, right? So So basically, I touched base with my property manager and said, okay, hey, were any more units rented out? Or any more units rent ready? And my last touch base was about 2 weeks ago, and like for some reason, those 2 units are still not ready yet, right? So if the general contractor ends up becoming faster, I might just pay him for speed. So I want to get these units ready as fast as possible, and then once those units are ready, then I'm gonna do my cash out refi or rent them out All right, the faster I rent them out, I do my cash out refi. So kind of the bind I'm stuck in is I currently have 11 out of 20 units rented out. So that's a 55% occupancy. If I bring this to my lender, they're going to say no. So, what I'm hoping is I have one unit that's rent ready right now. There's two that one team is more cosmetic renovations that they're working on, and one that my contractor is working on. So once these three are ready to go and rent ready, that's 4 units total. I rent out four. I went from 11 to 15, which is a little bit more reasonable, right? When I have 15 out of 20 units occupied, at that point, I want to start engaging lenders. But I know in reality, they want me to be at least 18 out of 20, which is 90% occupancy. If I have 90% occupancy, 18 out of 20, I know I'll get a lender to bite on this deal. But at 15, I may or may not. And like you said, when you engage lenders, it takes a lot of time, right? You got to send them paperwork, they got to underwrite your deal. So I'd rather do it earlier than later. I'd rather get the deal approved contingent upon me getting to 18 and have it ready to go. The moment I hit 18, I'm going to cash out refinance this deal and be done with it. So it's about being proactive, right? So I went from 7, rented out 4, I'm at 11. Rented out the next 4, I'll be at 15. At 15, I want to engage my lender, right? Engage multiple lenders to start getting quotes and terms and what they expect the value to be. Because if I can get this thing financed at 15 units, I'm going to take it immediately, pull out the money to renovate the rest of the units, and I won't be under as much pressure. But if they tell me, Steven, you got to get to 18, then that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to pay for the speed, right? I'm going to have both those two guys and my general contractor work on my apartment to get 3 more units ready, and I'll rent those out and then get that immediately. So I called, and the property manager said, well, hey, we're still working on these 3, but one's rent ready. And what I told my property manager is, you have to advertise this aggressively, right? My property manager didn't know about Facebook Market. That's a new Craigslist. Everyone has Facebook on their phone. And the moment I said that, hey, you need to post these units on Facebook Marketplace, but unfortunately you have to use your own personal account and just forward it over to your property manager or the leasing office team, she was willing to do that. And she realized that, wow, the moment I posted on Facebook Marketplace, I got so many responses. That's how I was able to rent out 4 units during the worst time of the year. The worst time of the year to rent out units is their holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, November, December. And I rented out 4 units because I advertised on Facebook Marketplace. But on top of that, I did a $77 move-in special. So these units were renting out for $500 to $550 on average. And I gave a $77 move-in special. If you give me $77, you can move in today plus your security deposit. So the security deposit, let's say it's $400. You give me $477, and you can move in today, right? Because I want to get these units rented out as fast as possible, and people were biting on that. That's how I was able to rent out 4. So now I'm doing the same thing, right? I'm gonna continue to advertise on Facebook Marketplace, offer that $77 move-in special because I want to get heads in beds, right? I want to get to 15 units so I can say, hey, and tell my lender my story. Literally from December, and let's say I finished renting those out in end of February, December, January, February, I rented out 8 units for $500. That's very fast, right? So they know that if I'm doing 8 units over 3 months, what's that, like 2, 3 units a month? So they know that in a month, I'll go from 15 to 18. And it might take like, 30 to 60 days to get this loan done and through, right? So by the time the loan's done, I might be at 18. So, that's the key about showing your plan, what your plan was, and how you actually execute the plan to the lender. And once you can sell that story, that's what your loan officer is selling to the underwriting team to get it approved. Because the loan officer gets paid when the loan gets approved. So that's just kind of something that I went through recently, and and I kind of want to share the inside scoop of like what I'm dealing with, on a daily basis when managing my real estate portfolio. A lot of it is just touching base, and I like to ask my leasing agent, like, what can I do to make your job easier? And they always pause and say, what? Like, no owners ever asked me that because I want to rent these units out, and they want to rent the units out, right? And like I said, at this point, if my back's against the wall and I want speed, I have to pay for that speed. So I'm going to have to pay this general contractor more money to renovate these units to get them rent ready faster, right? So I might leverage him to do that. to get these units, even though he's unhappy with me. But hey, at the end of the day, I'm the one who puts money in the property management account, and the property manager pays him. So at the end of the day, I'm paying the bills. So for me, it's a long-term relationship, and if I value speed, then I have to pay for that speed. If I want, if those two other guys end up being too slow for me, um, you know, I might not use them and just pay for speed. Or I use both. That's what I'm currently doing, right? Get the best of both worlds. Like, some units will be cheaper. The easier cosmetic units are cheaper. You just fix those up, cause more cosmetic. But the ones that need a deeper renovation and clean, I'll pay for it. I'll have them both. The faster I renovate these units, the faster I can rent them out, the faster I can cash out refinance. So for me, time is literally money, right? My hard money loan is only 9%. Like, if you look at interest rates today, it's 7-8% for a normal loan. 9% is not bad, but once I hit May, you fall under pressure. And I have a 3-month extension until August, but I don't want to get to that point. So this is how you create your plan and pivot your plan based on your situation. So you're always pivoting and pivoting and pivoting. And that's what you need to learn how to do as you invest in real estate. So hopefully you found this video valuable. If you have any questions, please check out the comment down below. If you're interested in learning and getting on my weekly Q&A calls with my students, just drop me your email. Thank you so much. See you in the next one.